follows. Akhenaten Mikhail follows. And last but of course not least, Pastor W. Lonnie Herndon will have some comments, and then we will entertain any questions. And for those of you who are interested in having some images of the vehicles, and some of us out there will be doing that after we conclude those comments. Let me just say this about both Dr. Maxwell and Councilmember Gautier. One of the key aspects of CARES is it provides direct communication at times when it's most needed. Witness relocation, witness protection, these are hot issues in Philly, and they should be. They should be hot issues anywhere, where we need to have a justice system that works and people who aren't protected. Well, CARES has been a source of this information because of their availability all the time. Council members are often sources of this information, including council member who's about to speak first. We will be happy to address any questions there may be about witness relocation and our efforts in that regard during Q&A. Council member.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank DA Krasner so much for inviting me to participate in today's event, and also for the transparency that he's bringing to the issue of gun violence with these weekly briefings. It's not news to anyone here that Philadelphia is experiencing one of the worst spikes in gun violence in our city's history. With 499 homicides and over 2,200 shootings, 2020 was the second most violent year as it relates to gun violence in our city's modern history. Only 1990 saw a higher level of gun violence, and that was during the height of the crack epidemic. And it's also not news that this has been an extremely difficult and eventful year. Every day it seems like there's been a new crisis that has commanded news media and as well as the attention of Philadelphians and city leaders alike. And so, to me at least, it seems at times that the city as a whole hasn't appreciated the severity of the gun violence crisis that we're experiencing. But here in West and Southwest Philadelphia, we don't have the luxury of turning a blind eye to this issue. Over the past year, there's been shootings practically every day in my district. I've been to more emergency community meetings and anti-violence rallies and visuals in my first year than I ever could have imagined in this role. And at each of these events, I talk to residents that are a part of these communities that are being torn apart by gun violence. I will never forget speaking to one woman in the fatal hours after a shooting on her block and having her look at me and say, I feel like nothing is ever going to change here. No one should have to feel like that in the community that they live in, right? No one should have to suffer that kind of trauma and be forced to accept it as, quote, just the way things are. And that's why I'm so grateful to have a partner in the DA's office in providing support and care to victims and co-victims that can help to move them forward. I'm also very grateful, considering the amount of need that the CARES program's funding has been renewed. Coping with a homicide while trying to navigate law enforcement, the criminal justice system, and service providers can be far too much for grieving and traumatized survivors to bear. The CARES program is right there with them, integral in the process, and make sure that family members are not going through this alone. I also want to take a moment to appreciate the work and the commitment of the DA's office to the West and Southwest Philadelphia community. At every rally and community meeting and visual I attended, they've been right there with me. They've been right there with us. They show up right after in the hours or accounts after a fatal shooting, or after any shooting incident, and they're there to provide help and support to people in what's probably the worst moment of their entire lives. I also want to acknowledge G. Lamar Stewart, the DA's Director of Community Engagement, for his passion and commitment to this work at a time when it's so needed. that's going to go away on its own. And it's not just about policing and putting more and more people in jail. It's about knowing the needs of our communities, realizing the scarcity in our neighborhoods, and realizing what people will resort to when they feel like no one has a stake in ensuring that they thrive. In my mind, gun violence should be addressed with the same level of urgency as COVID in this city, and I'm grateful to have a partner in the DA's office in working on this issue and also in advocating for more resources for our neighborhoods and our community members. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Johnson, and I'm here on behalf of Pennsylvania House Democratic Leader Joanna McClinton to say thank you for being here for this very important moment. On behalf of Representative McClinton, she sends her regrets that she is not able to attend as she is exercising her legislative duties in the state capitol in Harrisburg. But she does say thank you so much to the District Attorney's Office, specifically District Attorney Larry Krasner, as well as our community partners at City Council, including Councilmember Jamie Gaudier, the Philadelphia Police Department, and all of our community partners for coming together to talk about this very important initiative. As we know, for far too long, Philadelphia has been plagued by issues around crime and gun violence. Every single day in our district here in West Philadelphia, specifically in Cobb Street, as well as in South Philadelphia, we hear the cries of our neighbors and constituents who are calling for justice and peace. And this is not a time where we can allow ourselves to grow complacent or hopeless or to feel a sense of greed. This is an opportunity for us to bring a level of hope and passion and peace to our community. And it starts with having programs and initiatives like the CARES program, which is going to provide trauma-informed support and other resources to folks who have unfortunately fallen victim to gun violence and homicide. This is an opportunity for us not to look back on all that has gone wrong, but it's an opportunity for us to look forward on all that can be here in the city of Philadelphia. A city of Philadelphia that can be more peaceful, a Philadelphia that can be more loving, as we are the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. But it starts now with us being able to come together as community partners with the District Attorney's Office, law enforcement, City Council, our leaders at the state level, as well as all our community partners for us to build a better path forward. So thank you, and let us have a peaceful 2021. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of this mess. I can't even breathe over here. But I want to thank the DA's office, Larry Krasner. I want to thank our City Councilwoman, Jamie Gaudier, for allowing me to come and say a few words today. I want to thank Mark Stewart for this meeting. I'm only here because we know that there is problems in our community with violence, but there's also a solution. A young man, Zamir Jones, was murdered. We, as Community Solutions, CAN, and the different groups got together. For 10 weeks, we worked with the community over there. And after the 10 weeks were over, we've seen a reduction in violence in that community. We also see the community come back alive. They even got a lockdown. So there is solutions. We're just saying that we need your help. Organizations need help. There is a way for us all to get involved. We need to do it together. We cannot be separate organizations. We have to be together. When we had the meeting over for the young man, I called Larry Krasner, because he knows I called him. I called Larry and told him what was going on. He never once said, Kazar, I can't make that meeting. He said, Kazar, I will move something around to be there. When I called Reverend Herms here from Christian Compassion and told him that I needed him to come out, he came out. They even bought a truck and gave out chicken, whatever the sandwich was. They were good sandwiches. Even the mosque. Everyone has to be involved. That's what I'm trying to say. It took every organization, even religious organization, to change the community over there that had a young man murdered. And now they are flourishing. The police is no longer there in the area, and they are trying to get their community back. So we're asking everyone, please support the organizations that are doing the work. And as you support them, support the people that's behind it. Sometimes, and this is me personally, I've called Larry, and he's been places where there was no meeting. He has shown up just because I've called him. The same thing with Reverend Herman. You understand? These are the people that I go to war with every day. These are the people that I love going to war with because it's about the community. We are one Philadelphians. We need to keep remembering that, and we need to support one another. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Tom McKell, and I'm representing, can everyone hear me? I'm representing Black Men Unifying Black Men. As D.A. Krasner so eloquently said, a grassroots organization located here in West Philadelphia. A lot of our work that we do is here in West Philadelphia, Southwest Philadelphia, and throughout Philadelphia as a whole. Our mission is to unite Black men for the purpose of strengthening families and therefore strengthening communities. If you notice that mission, it goes in a certain order because we have to be responsible for us as Black men. And as Black men, when we go back to our families, then we organize them. And then families organize communities in that order. One thing I like to say to those that are under the sound of my voice, talk to your family, talk to your children. You'll be surprised. I've lost family members due to gun violence. I've had friends that were on the other side of that. But talk to your children. You'll be surprised. They know what's going on. You know, I know that we have a lot of things going on with COVID-19 and various other external stressors that are out there. But please, talk to your children. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank you, Krasner, for convening us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Church of Christian Compassion and faith leaders in the Southwest Philadelphia community, we are extremely grateful and thankful for the partnership with our District Attorney's Office. Larry Krasner, our City Council, our leaders at the state level have worked hard and diligently all year long, which was a very arduous year for us to deal with all of COVID, but also to this pandemic of violence in the city. But we are confident, and we are most confident that working with the CARES Act, which members of our congregation and the community have shared countless stories how effective CARES have been here in the city of Philadelphia with our members of our congregation and those in the community. I stand with Kazar and the Muslim community and say that we are excited about working hard. We have had that experience with G. Lamar Stewart, Larry Krasner, and all of the programs that are being put forth in the city to curb this gun violence. And we're confident that in 2021 that things are going to turn around with all of the partners working together. Thank you.
Thank you all for those excellent, informative comments. We are now available for questions. And by we, I mean all of us are available for questions. Upon concluding that, I think a lot of us will be heading out towards the CARES vehicles in case there's any further discussion or anybody wants to get the image of the vehicles to serve the CARES program. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
For anyone, how critical, you speak to how critical having a program like this is at this particular moment in time in Philadelphia, as you mentioned, one of the most violent in the city's history. You know, how critical is that?
I'll say 2 words, and I'll let the person who knows a lot more than me say a couple words, and that's Dr. Maxwell. It's absolutely critical. We are in a moment when the community and all of law enforcement, victims and survivors, need as much help as they can possibly get. We are very fortunate that this program started before this terrible crisis of shootings and killings that we have seen nationally and locally during the pandemic came about. Dr. Maxwell, do you want to say that word?
The beauty of the CARES program is not just that we work with the parents or the siblings, but we also work with the extended family. What I mean by that is community members who have been impacted by the homicide. So we are not limited to just the immediate family. We are reaching forward and stretching forward to reach out to as many folks who need our support and our help. So I think that that really plays a large part in how we work through the process and help this community.
Yes, sir.
The CARES program deals with reacting to violence and caring for those who have been impacted by it. Could you talk to us about what your office is doing in conjunction with the police department and other stakeholders to try to prevent some of these killings and shootings from taking place?
Sure, although in fairness to you, that might take an hour.
Go ahead.
Let me try to give a concise version of it. Obviously, there's the big long-term problem, and Philly's not the only city that has it, which is that there have been chronically higher rates of violence in Philadelphia, just as there have in certain sections of Chicago. They have not been remedied simply by having disproportionately large police departments. There's more that needs to be done in terms of systemic, preventative activity, investing in the things that stop violence and stop crime, investing in the things that increase hope, especially among young men, who are the ones most likely to be involved in either shooting or getting shot. That's the big picture. In terms of the smaller picture about how law enforcement works together better, we have initiated or been involved in a number of new programs this year, and we think that while no one of them is going to solve the problem, all of them can play a role. The David Kennedy model for GBI is something that's underway this year, and we believe it has the potential to have positive outcomes. The collaboration between the DAO and the PPD in terms of assigning assistant district attorneys around the city to work directly with the police, including at the invitation of the PPD on solving shootings, we feel will have some positive effects. The unification of the district attorney's homicide unit with also with shootings that are non-fatal is something we did a while ago, and you should know that the conviction rate that we are seeing at the beginning of 2020 before the pandemic hit was the highest since 2014. It was on the order of about 85%. So we see some positive things coming there. That, of course, involved collaboration in the sense that the shootings and the homicides could be assessed together. There was a level of mentoring within the office that I think had its counterpart within the PPD. Most recently, the PPD and the DAO have started a joint task force to look at all the new cases and to try to fix any investigative gaps and learn whatever lessons we can learn about what could be done better. It has the micro application to that group of cases. So let's just say last week it was, I think, about 50 cases. The first week it was about 80 cases. You look at those cases, you find gaps. For example, there was a whole group of cases where DNA was swabbed from guns, but it was not swabbed from the defendant, which is the whole point of doing the DNA swab from the gun in the first place. By looking at it together as a team, not with an eye towards blame, but with an eye towards doing better, we were able to grab those cases early and do what needs to be done to fix that problem, potentially a problem that's been around for quite some time, since it was so prevalent in that group. Well, it also, at the macro level, allows for new training with the PPD as they see an issue and with the DAO, and as we see an issue, maybe we messed up charging, maybe they messed up a car stop, whatever it may be, they're able to train against mistakes moving forward, which is absolutely crucial. So those are some of the ways that we have been working together. This city has more to do. I mean, this city needs to look at cities that have succeeded in non-law enforcement-led, successful gun violence prevention programs. One of the ones that stands out the most to me is the GRID, the GRYD program in Los Angeles. It is not led by law enforcement, but it has been very good for law enforcement, having tremendously successful results over more than a decade by investing in community in ways that have stopped and prevented crime. None of us want to be cleaning up a mess. We want to avoid that mess. We want to prevent those crimes.
Two
Yes.
questions. First, is the DA's office doing any work to help deal with the street beefs? A lot of young people have said repeatedly that it's the beefs and the lack of mediation. Is the DA's office involved with any of that?
I think the short answer is that many of our partners are, and many of them are dealing with it more directly. I don't know, Dr. Maxwell, do you want to say a further point on that, or should we maybe refer? Why don't we let Kazar and Akhenaten address that point before we move?
To answer your question, we are dealing with that, and we have been dealing with that. It's definitely an approach that it's a comprehensive approach. And that comprehensive approach that we've been taking has been one that's been worked into some degree, meaning we sit down with the youth in the community. For example, we've had some youth that live right on the 60th Street corridor, both on the north side of 60th Street, 60th and Market, and the south side. And, you know, they come to us quite often and they say, yeah, well, I'm having a problem with this one, I'm having a problem with that. And we've mediated certain beefs. Of course, that's just isolated situations. But to answer your question, we have been doing that and we're trying to actually step it up a little more. Am I accurate?
No, you're accurate in what you're saying. Different organizations take different approach to things. My organization for me is I go straight to the streets. I speak to the children on the streets. I'm out there 1:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Lamar, I don't know where he's at, he'll tell you, I'm in the streets. You understand? Because we need to talk to these young people. You understand? We keep labeling them of who they are, but we're not understanding why they at the label. So that's what we do as organizations. We take different approaches. If I'm out there at 4 in the morning speaking to some of them, and then in the daytime they're walking past black men, unified black men, I say, hey, listen, you may want to stop in there and speak to them. And then they take it from there. And then we keep passing the ball. Right. As we pass this ball on, the person gets better. They get a good understanding of what the organizations are trying to do in their community. So a lot of times, we need to get back into the community. That's why, you know, again, my man, Reverend Hearns, tell him. Sometimes I see him out there, I'll be like, hey, Rev, you all right out here, Rev? Right. But he understands that our community needs us. You understand? And as a man, sure.
Listen to the youth. You have to listen to them.
Yes.
Because they're communicating to us, but maybe in not so conventional manners or conventional ways, but they're communicating. They're trying to tell us certain things. We have to be in tune. We have to listen. A lot of these young people, they don't want to be involved in the things they're involved in, more specifically the gun violence. I talk to youth all the time and say, well, why you carry a gun? I got to protect myself. That's the first answer. You know, I mean, I have guys in my organization, some of which are right behind us. Mr. Barry right there, Ryan, and some other folks that are here. They're out here with the youth. Because